everything you do, you need to run content for it. And you have to, aside from creating the main product itself, you have to get creative with every single post. And it's so time consuming. And also, I absolutely hate it. And welcome to Getting Pacific, where we're getting specific on trending topics straight from the newsroom at TaiwanPlus. I'm Joey Chou.
And I'm Michelle Chiang. And for this episode of Getting Pacific, we're talking about content. Not food ingredients, not material components, entertainment media content. Taipei, Taiwan recently hosted the 2024 Content Asia Awards, where local creators won 4 silvers.
141 nominees among 27 categories look to take home awards recognizing excellence in Asian entertainment at the Content Asia Awards here in Taipei. And it's a time for creators from around the continent to celebrate Asian content creation. Taiwan's content creators walked away with 4 silver awards, and it was a promising haul for Taiwan. The country has gained recognition over the years as a content creation contender. Several Taiwanese production companies were in the running for awards, including TaiwanPlus, but it was Taiwan's Hakka TV that had the most nominations going into the ceremony with 4. Ceremony organizers lauded Taiwan's content creation at the awards. The Content Asia Awards have been held annually since 2020. The first editions were held virtually until last year when a physical ceremony debuted in Bangkok. Taipei is the second city to ever host the award ceremony. With the 5th edition of the awards now over, Taiwan has staked its claim as a content hub in Asia. And with a diverse culture to draw from, the future of Taiwan's entertainment industry has the potential to grow even stronger.
That was a report by Alex Chen and Leslie Liao from the TaiwanPlus newsroom. I can absolutely believe that Taiwan is a hub of content creation in Asia, judging from all the Instagrammers, TikTokers, and other people out there with their phones and cameras out. I myself do run a few social media accounts for my dice business and, stuff, but the bulk of my content creation is obviously at my other work at RTI and here at TaiwanPlus with you, Joey.
Yeah.
How are you finding the content creation game?
I absolutely hate it. I think we all have 1 or 2 endeavors or ventures outside of our primary work, and everything you do, you need to run content for it, either to generate enough buzz or just to getting your stuff out there for at least it's hosted somewhere. And you have to, aside from creating the main product itself, you have to get creative with every single post. And it's so time consuming and also, brain cell consuming at the same time.
Yeah, it's so exhausting. You always have to come up with things that will hook people into at least watching your or reading your post for, 30 seconds or something. And it's hard to come up with that material. So,
and by the way, if you're a YouTuber, then I definitely don't envy you, because apparently the YouTube algorithm switches up every couple of months. So you're always learning new ways to get your video out there to more people. And that really sucks.
Oh, yes. The algorithm for all social media platforms change on a pretty consistent basis, which is the only thing that's consistent about it, because it's so hard to come up with material that remains then consistently pulling in people. It's crazy. Now, let's get technical for a moment and define things. Content creation is the production and sharing of information for fairly specific audiences, usually digital, and includes maintaining and updating websites, blogging, article writing, photography, videography, online commentary, social media accounts, etc.
Yeah, basically the material people contribute to the online world. So who makes content? News organizations, especially big names like the New York Times, NPR, and CNN, create some of the most shared content on the internet. Academic institutions contribute books, journals, articles, white papers, and digital scholarships. And corporations create advertising and public relations content as well, usually for profit. Music, movies, literature, and art are also major forms of cultural content, and that includes digital arts, fan fiction, fan art. It's great that the independent artists, writers, and musicians have found success by putting their work on the internet, really.
Now, things got really entertaining with the rise of what's called Web 2.0, which are sites and apps that use user-generated content for other users. It is characterized by greater user interactivity and collaboration, network connectivity, and communication channels. Those are the sites that like you can copy someone's dance move on, like, say, TikTok into your own video, and it continues like a hype train. So it uses users to entertain other users.
So research has found that 8% of internet users are active in content creation and 69% are quote unquote spectators who consume but don't create, which is actually a lot of people if you're counting the world's population. So why do people create all of this stuff that we see on the internet?
Obviously, we see a lot of people who just want to become famous, but many people use the power of media for sharing knowledge, pushing social reform, or just simple altruism. However, experts do say that in order to be an effective creator, context and inclusivity must be carefully considered, and other users should be able to participate and share the material. So let's get to Taiwan. Joey, we work in media and create content ourselves, but do you feel like the percentages are accurate here in Taiwan? 8% creators, 69% lurkers?
Lurkers, I like that. Yes, maybe. That sounds about right.
I think it's more. I actually think that there's more people trying to make content here than just 8%. Or am I just hanging out places where there's just a lot of people with phones out? Taking pictures and making videos.
Okay, you know what? Maybe you are right, but can I say that every decent looking person that I know is more or less a content creator because, you know, good looking people like to take pictures and then they tend to turn their profiles to public and then they're just like, take a look at me. So if you count those people, yeah, there's definitely more creators than 8%.
Than 8%, right. So
yeah.
Taiwan's technology, as we know, is quite advanced, being the maker of the majority of the world's semiconductor chips and leader in many other tech industries. I'd say that almost everyone, including small children and elderly people, have access to content sharing platforms. According to Statista, the number of people using social media here was 19.2 million as of January 2024, which is roughly 82% of Taiwan's total population of 23.4 million. The most popular platforms were YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram.
By the way, yeah, Taiwan is one of those few countries that still uses Facebook a lot.
Totally. So we got in touch with popular YouTuber Tristan H, or searchable by @Yakitori on YouTube, to ask her a few questions about her creation experience.
I had actually wanted to start a YouTube since around 2008 when I started consuming various content, and I never had the courage to do it until I moved back to Taiwan. And the main reason behind wanting to keep sharing videos was because there was so much content that was worth sharing in Taiwan, and I wanted to share things about my life and Taiwanese culture with people back in the US and around the world.
I actually have watched a lot of Tristan's videos, and they're really entertaining. They're high energy and they're fun, and always from a standpoint of introducing Taiwan to like the Western world and the weird cultural quirks or food trends or stuff that happen here, which is entertaining. Very entertaining for me.
But it's so amazing that what motivates her is just the need to share stuff, because it's a lot of commitment to be a YouTuber, isn't it? Like, at least when you start off doing it, you're the person who's scripting, thinking of ideas, and then producing, shooting, and then editing, putting it all together, and then uploading, creating thumbnails, creating visuals to go along with it, and of course, posting about it to promote it. That's a lot of commitment for just someone who really just wants to share stuff.
Right? You have to have both a love of sharing whatever idea that you have, and also a love of the creation process itself, the technical creation. So, well, she has said that she likes both sides of that coin. So, good for her. All right. So I want to do the quiz early, Joey.
Okay.
You ready?
Okay, let's do it.
So number 1. Earlier, we touched on how 82% of Taiwan's population are using content sharing platforms. Do you think you can rank us compared to these other Asian countries by population percentage, from which country most uses social media to least? So we have Taiwan, South Korea, Japan, and the Philippines.
Okay, I'm going to first say the Philippines, they use a lot of social media, a lot of internet users, because I know that in the last Philippines election, it was pretty much determined solely by like a huge online promotional campaign by the incumbent government. So I'm going to put the Philippines at the front. And then I think it's South Korea, Taiwan, and Japan. So Japan, that doesn't sound right. But let's just say that. Okay, so the Philippines, Taiwan, South Korea, and Japan.
Well, when I was looking at the statistics for this, I was a little surprised because I also thought the Philippines had a very large percentage of social media users.
Okay.
But I think what we missed with that is that, well, first of all, let me give you the percentages first.
Yeah.
The largest percentage of the population of social media users is South Korea, coming in with 93%.
Wow.
That's nuts. That's crazy. Japan with 85% is in second place. Taiwan with 82%, and the Philippines with 75%.
What? Really?
It's a difficult question considering how prevalent it is now in 2024. But I think what we missed was that there's a lot of people in rural areas of the Philippines that don't actually have much access to the internet.
That's very true. Yeah, so now that number really makes sense. And the Philippines is a big country. So South Korea is small enough that the whole country is just a big metropolitan area, right?
Pretty
So
much.
everybody seems to be creating content. Yeah, that makes sense, I guess.
Now, let's talk about which platforms are most popular here in Taiwan. We heard from and we'll be hearing more from YouTuber Tristan H, but can you now rank the apps in popularity from most popular to least?
Okay.
We have YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Line, TikTok, and Dcard.
Oh, okay. For our listeners from around the world, Dcard is basically an online forum where you kind of post stories, share with people, and then people can comment on it. So it's like Facebook, but people rarely post pictures or videos on Dcard. It's like a very text-based forum. And it's very popular in Taiwan. So I'm going to say Facebook is still at number 1, YouTube at number 2, Instagram, Dcard, Line, and TikTok. I know TikTok is probably the least popular in Taiwan. Does that sound about right?
Well, let's see if you're right. So you put YouTube at number 2, but it is actually number 1.
Ah, shucks.
In popularity here.
Okay.
According to the Digital Marketing for Asia, they're like a marketing expert in trying to find these usage numbers. So YouTube is first. Dcard actually comes in second place. I think what they're measuring is the number of posts and the amount of traffic. Facebook comes in at number 3, then Line at number 4, Instagram at number 5, and TikTok last. Last, you got TikTok right. It's not that popular here.
I'm a little surprised that Line is even considered this because it's more or less an instant messaging app. But then again, you can post stuff online.
Apparently, it's gaining popularity as like a social media where you can maintain your own profile page.
Right.
And you can put up posts and pictures and things. I ignore that feature entirely.
Yeah, me too.
I do not need another platform that I need to keep track of, just saying.
Yeah.
We're talking about popularity of only content creation and sharing because many of these apps offer other services, like I mentioned, that are quite frequently used by much of the population here in Taiwan. Like we said, Line's messaging and Line Pay feature, Facebook's check-ins, and more. Also, Joey, do you actually use Dcard? Because I had never heard of it before this.
I have a Dcard account and I never used to even read it until I got married because they talk a lot about relationship advice and about how to deal with in-laws and that kind of stuff. And it just started to intrigue me what other people are dealing with after they got married. But I'm sure it's used for more than that.
Well, that makes a lot of sense, actually, because when I was looking into it, apparently it's a networking platform based in Taiwan, first created in 2011 by a sophomore at NTU, National Taiwan University, Kai Tu-lin. It was initially used as a university student networking service. So I guess kind of like Facebook.
Yeah.
Right. But it rapidly gained momentum across local colleges, which led the founding team to roll out more features. And of course, back in 2011, these people grew up, thereby getting married, getting new jobs, relationships, and then they wound up also putting the stuff that you started reading on there.
Interesting. That makes sense. I know that as of November 2022, Dcard is the most influential social media platform among young people here with I think over 6 million members and more than like close to 20 million unique visitors each month. The company is now expanding to new markets, including Hong Kong, Macau, and Japan as DTTO or Ditto.
Oh, that's a cute name. I like it.
Yeah.
The rise and fall of apps is now so fast, especially compared against the OG or traditional forms of content sharing like newspapers. I believe the New York Times has been in service for an actual 173 years.
Oh my gosh, that's older than many countries that I know around the world. And by the way, newspapers, generally the point of distribution is convenience stores, right? And I'm sure you remember, Michelle, about, I would say, I don't know, a decade ago, when you walk into a convenience store, there will be a newspaper stack right at the front because that's where people usually, pick them up as they're cashing out and they go. But I haven't seen them at the front for quite some time. They would be all the way back where the magazines are nowadays, to a point where the other day, this elderly gentleman walked out with a newspaper and I'm like, they still sell these things? And apparently they do.
I'm going to actually sound pretty terrible when I admit that I knew where they sold the newspapers because I would buy them as a teacher for arts and crafts.
Not to read them, but to make things out of them.
Yep, but because we needed newspaper for like paper mache or something.
Well, at least they're being put to some use.
All right. So my last question is actually just a personal question. Since YouTube is the clear winner in Taiwan, I want to know what you watch when you're surfing the tube. I personally am a fan of travel vlogs and, of course, animal videos.
Of course. I think every sane person has a couple of cute kitty, doggy YouTube or Instagram accounts that they follow. But I usually watch, well, now that I'm getting older, I watch a lot of stuff about like the economy, how it's doing in Taiwan, around the world, or in my other home country of Canada. And I recently started getting hooked on, because of our mutual friends, on this very geeky stuff called Warhammer 40K and the lore stories from that, because there's recently a big video game release. And now that I said that, I actually follow a lot of video game channels. And I just listen to the lore as I go to sleep.
I forgot to mention, yes, I follow several D&D game players and live streamers as well.
There you go.
So there is a vast amount of content out there to teach us, move us, and of course, entertain us. So let's get back to Tristan as she answers a driving question that all creators deal with constantly: how she comes up with ideas.
Some people have an issue with coming up with ideas, and I feel blessed in that regard because the ideas come to me. If I'm going out and I'm even taking the MRT or taking the bus, sometimes ideas just pop in my head, and I have a notes app that I keep track of all of them with. So whenever I'm lacking ideas, I just open it up and there have to be hundreds of ideas in there. About 80% are absolute garbage, but the rest, the 20%, is decent enough that it makes it to video and other content.
So Tristan creates from the heart because she's just recording the things that move her every day, in her usual daily routine, which I love. As she said, she showcases life in Taiwan and other places she visits in Asia to the world.
Now, according to vidIQ, a platform insights site, the top 3 most popular YouTube creators in Taiwan are Mavi Gadget, maker of over 5,300, you guessed it, tech and gadget videos with 35.2 million subscribers. Qi Xuan Tricking, a stunt dance coach who also dresses as Spider-Man for shorts and videos, numbering only 576 of them, but with 13.5 million subscribers. And Roman and Sharon, who've posted about 3,300 videos on traveling and relationships with 7.3 million subscribers.
Now, our guest Tristan has put up 257 videos, and with 280,000 subscribers, might not be in the top 3 in Taiwan, but is quite formidable herself. So let's hear what's been her biggest challenge and biggest reward.
I think, what is it called? Imposter syndrome? There's a lot of people keep telling me, oh, because you're so successful, because you're such a successful YouTuber. But to me, all I see is the past month, 2 months, my views have been down and I haven't gained many new subscribers. And the people who started at the same time as me, they've already surpassed me in views and popularity. And I just feel like I'm the worst. And yet other people see me as being successful. So I think just the self-confidence of it all is really hard to manage. The biggest reward, I think, is being able to use videos as an excuse to do things that I want to do and try things that I want to try. A really good example of that is spending the night in an abandoned kindergarten in Taiwan. It was abandoned for, well, it is still abandoned. It has been abandoned for 70 plus years. And it's just a creepy, spooky kind of night thing to do. But if I were to do that with my friends, not for a video, they'd think I was insane. So I use videos as an excuse to try things and meet new people.
So yeah, you can watch Tristan H or Cui Chan, searchable by @Yakitori Sutan on YouTube. And I would never ever spend overnight in an abandoned kindergarten, but I would watch the YouTube video of somebody who did. So, good content.
Well, I mean, just for the record, I still think she's insane just for even wanting to try that. But that is one of the things that I find really hard. You and I have both just started our businesses, and I think it's the same thing as a YouTuber. You're trying something and you know the mantra, you fake it till you make it, but along the way, you try not to compare yourself to someone else, but you have to because, as a business owner, you have to know what products you're competing with and how someone else is doing it better than you. Maybe there's something you can learn from. And I'm sure as a YouTuber, you try not to watch someone else's video who's more successful than you and try not to get affected emotionally by it, but you have to. And that's a tough one.
Yeah, imposter syndrome is very, very real. I experience that at every job that I've ever been at. I guess it's also a driving factor, though, to make you work harder.
Yeah.
So we should touch on the dark side of content platforms for just a moment, though. Because for every positive message from creators out there, there are also ethical issues, including privacy, individual rights, and representation, as well as perpetuated rumors, misinformation, and confirmation bias, which is when users seek out information that confirms their existing beliefs only and ignore information that contradicts them, leading to an unbalanced content that does not represent a complete picture of an issue.
Yeah, like in a possible echo chamber that you can live in on the internet because of the algorithm. And because of the ever-present tension between Taiwan and China, there are always concerns of misleading information and propaganda as part of political agendas. These are put on Taiwanese forums and social media sites, not just for those content consumers to absorb, but also to attract journalists who will put them on mainstream news outlets. Thankfully, Taiwan's government task force and a slew of civil society groups routinely run workshops on information literacy and fact-check news report to deal with misinformation.
I think we must be very conscious about the media that we take in and be especially mindful when sharing it.
Yeah.
And of course, when we create it, if we are a creator.
Yeah, and I think there are actually laws in Taiwan where if you share misinformation, you're punishable by, I think, a fine to jail time, I believe.
Absolutely.
So, make sure you fact check.
As exhausting and as effortful as it is, we can't deny the importance of content creation and putting those ideas, whether they're information sharing or just pure entertainment, on the internet.
Yeah, and in the meantime, if you want to learn more about Taiwan, check out YouTubers like the ones we mentioned, or check out Tristan's YouTube. That's Tristan H. Cui Chan, searchable by @Yakitori Sutan on YouTube. And that about wraps up today's episode. So thank you for joining us, and I hope we got Pacific enough for you. I'm Joey Chow, and you can find me on Instagram and Facebook @JoeyTaipei. If you'd like to give us an idea or share your thoughts, toss us your 2 cents about the show. Don't be shy. Feel free to write to Joey @gettingpacific.com.
And I'm Michelle Chiang. You can usually find me over on Radio Taiwan International, where I host the show Geek Out and Jukebox Journeys. But if you want to talk to me, you can find me @Phoenix Dice, basically on all social media, because I am the Chief Phoenix Wrangler at phoenixdice.com, where you can get your Dungeons & Dragons dice and other adventuring gear stuff.
And if you want even more news and views from Taiwan and around the world, check out the huge catalog of news and entertainment on our website, TaiwanPlus.com, as well as YouTube, Instagram, or Twitter. Thank you for listening, and we hope you'll join us again on Getting Pacific.